February 28, 2016, the world held its breath. The internet seemed to come to a standstill for a few seconds. At the Dolby Theater, as Julianne Moore opened Hollywood's most powerful red envelope, millions of fans weren't just praying for an award, they were praying for justice. And when the name Leonardo DiCaprio rang out, the room didn't just clap, they stood up. A standing ovation that seemed to last an eternity. Not because it was an excellent performance, but because it marked the end of one of the most agonizing narratives in modern cinema history. Preceding that moment of glory were 22 long years, 4 nominations, yet walking away empty-handed every time. Thousands of sad Leo memes flooding social media, and one big question haunting fans: why? Why was an acting genius, a man who had everything, cold-shouldered by the Academy for so long? Did Hollywood hate its favorite child? Or simply, was he just the greatest victim of bad luck? Welcome to Cameo Chronicles. Today, we look back at the 20-year journey of blood, sweat, and tears that Leonardo DiCaprio took to finally touch that golden statue. The story begins in 1993. Back then, Leonardo DiCaprio was just 19. In the film What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Leo played Arnie Grape, a boy with a developmental disability. His acting was so authentic that at the premiere, many audience members asked the crew, "Where did you find an actual sick boy to play this role?" They couldn't believe it was acting. The role of Arnie earned Leo the first Oscar nomination of his career for Best Supporting Actor. That year, he lost to Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive. No one complained. Leo was still too young, and the nomination itself was a steel-hard declaration. This is not a heartthrob. This is a prodigy. But then, Titanic 1997 hit. Titanic swept the Oscars that year with 11 golden statues. The film became a global cultural phenomenon. Kate Winslet was nominated for Best Actress. Director James Cameron won big. But Leonardo DiCaprio, the soul of the movie, the man who made millions of hearts flutter, didn't even receive a nomination. This is when the curse began to take shape. Critics believed the Academy held an implicit bias. They didn't like pretty faces. In the eyes of the aging voters back then, Leo was just a teen idol, a commercial phenomenon, not a serious actor. This snub was the first bucket of cold water, but it was also the motivation for Leo to make a career-defining decision. He refused every blockbuster action role, turned down Anakin Skywalker, turned down Spider-Man, to dive headfirst into the grittiest roles imaginable. In 2004, Leo teamed up with legendary director Martin Scorsese in The Aviator. He played billionaire Howard Hughes, a genius suffering from severe OCD. To prepare, Leo spent months living with OCD patients. He let the disorder invade his mind to the point where he lost tens of minutes just trying to walk through a doorway because he feared germs. It was a soul-draining performance. But at the 2005 Oscars, the name called was Jamie Foxx for Ray. To be fair, Jamie Foxx was exceptional in recreating the legend of Ray. But for Leo, this was the first painful defeat after his shift to method acting. In your opinion, between Leo's manic Howard and Jamie Foxx's blind Ray that year, who deserved it more? Let me know in the comments. It didn't stop there. In 2007, Leo returned with Blood Diamond. He mastered the South African accent, one of the hardest in the world, rolling through mud and bombs. The result? He lost again. This time to Forrest Whitaker, another cinematic monster playing the tyrant in The Last King of Scotland. People began to realize a cruel rule. Leo is always excellent, but he always meets rivals delivering roles of a lifetime in the exact same year. He became the great runner-up. If there was ever a year fans felt Leo was blatantly robbed, it was 2014 with The Wolf of Wall Street. As Jordan Belfort, Leo exploded with terrifying energy. He was charming, despicable, hilarious, and insane. Especially the scene where he's high on Quaaludes and has to crawl from the hotel lobby to his Ferrari. Leo acted with his entire body, creating one of the most classic moments of physical comedy in the 21st century. Social media exploded with the campaign #GiveLeoAnOscar. But fate mocked him once again. That year belonged to Matthew McConaughey. With Dallas Buyers Club, Matthew lost 21 kilograms, or 46 pounds, to play an AIDS patient. And we all know the Academy's taste. They prefer grueling physical transformations and tragedy over a drug-addicted billionaire. The moment Matthew went up to accept the award, Leo sat there, smiling and clapping. But that look in his eyes became a meme, the look of bitter acceptance. Perhaps he understood. Acting well isn't enough. He needs to torture himself. He needs to suffer. And then the Revenant was born. This was no longer a movie. This was recorded physical torture. To become Hugh Glass, Leonardo DiCaprio pushed himself past every human limit. He had to film in temperatures of -30 degrees Celsius, -22 degrees Fahrenheit in Canada and Argentina for 9 months. He wore heavy prosthetic scars and waded into freezing rivers. And the peak, in the scene where the character eats raw bison liver, despite being a vegetarian, Leo decided to eat real, raw liver. The gag, the nausea you see on screen, that wasn't acting. That was a genuine biological reaction. He even crawled inside a prop horse carcass to feel the ultimate isolation. This time, the media didn't ask, will Leo win? They said, if they don't give it to him, it's a crime. At the 88th Oscars, no rival could stand in his way. No more bad luck. His sacrifice had completely conquered the toughest judges. Look closely at that moment. Leo didn't jump for joy. He didn't scream wildly like a child receiving a gift. Instead, he simply closed his eyes and let out a long breath. A slight smile passed over his lips, not of pride, but of absolute peace. That smile said that the invisible boulder pressing on his thin shoulders for 22 agonizing years had finally been lifted. The entire auditorium stood up in unison. Legends, rivals, those who once doubted him, they all stood up as if it were inevitable. It wasn't just a film award, it was a belated coronation for the uncrowned king. And the most touching image of that night was when he turned and tightly hugged Kate Winslet, his soulmate who wept in his place. It was the moment Jack and Rose found each other again, but this time, no one had to let go. Rumor has it that in a private moment backstage, while waiting for his name to be engraved on the statue base, Leo turned to the engraver with a sheepish smile and asked, "Do I have to do anything? I've never done this before." A light joke, heartbreakingly humble, yet it encapsulated the bitterness of 4 previous failures. But, my dear friends, look at the naked truth. Leonardo DiCaprio never needed an Oscar to become a legend. Conversely, it was the Academy that desperately needed Leo to salvage its own honor and relevance. The golden statue in his hand, no matter how sparkling, is just inanimate matter that can rust with time. But the intense emotions he carved into the soul of humanity are eternal. From the scholarly boy on the bow of the Titanic all those years ago to the rugged man crawling through the frozen wilderness, Leonardo DiCaprio didn't act, he lived through hundreds of lives, endured thousands of physical pains, just to prove one steel-hard truth: true art is never for those who give up. If this life is a long-running movie, then Leonardo DiCaprio is the best screenwriter, the one who hand-wrote the perfect ending to his own tragedy. And today, in front of this screen, let's raise a glass to him for that magnificent perseverance. Did you feel a sting in your nose witnessing that historic moment? Which Leo role haunts you to this day? Share your feelings in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to give Cameo Chronicles the motivation to tell more cinematic legends. Thank you, and see you next time. Cut.